More than 20 female parliamentarians from the Commonwealth gathered in the Virgin Islands to discuss women's issues and strategies to promote greater female representation in the political sphere during the 8th Conference of Commonwealth Women's Parliamentarians held on Saturday, July 25th.
It gives me great pleasure this morning to welcome everyone, and especially the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians, to the 8th Commonwealth Women Parliamentary Conference. But I'd just like to express a hearty thank you for all of you who have traveled to our shores, and hopefully the discussions that will take place over the course of the day would be enlightening, informative, and would further rejuvenate us as women to charge forward and take our rightful place in parliaments in our various jurisdictions. So I'm just extending again thank you and a hearty welcome.
The 8th Conference of Commonwealth Women's Parliamentarians was part of the week-long 40th Annual Conference of the Caribbean, Americas, and the Atlantic region of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, CPA, hosted in the Territory from July 25th to August 1st. In the opening ceremony, Regional Chairperson of the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians and Bahamian Minister of Transport and Aviation, Honorable Glenys Hannah Martin, addressed the gathering.
I wish to recognize the Acting Premier, Honorable Pickering, of course our beloved Speaker, BVI, Ingrid Moses Scatliff, all of you fellow parliamentarians throughout the region. And I want to thank BVI, the Premier, Acting Premier, and the government and people of BVI, our beloved Caribbean brothers and sisters, on providing us with, which I know you will all agree, with such a warm, kind, and gracious welcome to this beautiful little country. It is my distinct pleasure and privilege to address you in this, my final participation as regional representative of the Caribbean, Atlantic, and Americas region of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Women's Association. I do so on the eve of the 40th Commonwealth Parliamentary Association meeting, and at this, the opening of our 8th CWP meeting. On a personal level, this has been a most wonderful experience, and an eye-opening one at that. Firstly, I have been driven to zero in to that singular and compelling issue of the underrepresentation of women in the political and parliamentary process, not only in my own country, but also in the region, and as it happens, in the world. This has led me on a most fascinating and illuminating journey of inquiry and discovery. It has led me to a contextual analysis of the long and difficult struggle of women over the generations, which has led to incredible achievements and great progress. And yet, still, there is remaining the lingering and stubborn issue of inequity at the pivotal involvement in political power. But secondly, and importantly, I have, through the privilege of serving as regional representative of CWP, had the great opportunity of meeting from around this beautiful and complex region my sisters who, like me, serve in the political arena. These women, a representative sample being here this morning, follow in the footsteps of the women who came before us. And like those women, we have had the courage to step forward, step up, and in the words of the Bahamas' own Marian Bethel in our poem, "And the Trees Still Stand," we have had the courage to beat back the bush and make the road for the women who will come after us and travel along this new road. My sisters, you have walked boldly to the forefront and into the glaring spotlight to form a small army of Amazons, a small but powerful and influential army of women. I believe we will all agree that there is no endeavor quite like the political endeavor. It is at the same time one of the most satisfying, frustrating, challenging, and rewarding privileges one can have during a lifetime. For it is through this process that true social and economic transformation can be effective. It is the business of people. It is through this endeavor that we can hope for and aspire to, and indeed achieve, the creation of a new social and economic reality for distinct human societies in our respective countries. As female participants in the political process, the experience is a highly unique one, and oftentimes a very difficult one. We are small in numbers, although we are representative of 1/2 of the population throughout the region, indeed the world. We must continue to struggle to increase our numbers so as to cause for a more proportionate representation of women in the political caucus. And we do so because our voices are important and necessary, because our collective ethos and intellect is critical to the pursuit of a more balanced and more powerful political construct. This is perhaps the last great frontier for women in our region, but it is a critical frontier. We must get there not just for its own sake, but because it is necessary to bring balance to our universe. During this 8th session, we will sit together to discuss this serious issue. We will listen to each other. We will give analysis to the stubborn cultural and institutional barriers that we face as women in the political realm. We will share thoughts and ideas on methodologies and solutions. Very importantly, we will have presentations on the proposed Sustainable Development Goals, which will have a fundamental impact and influence our agenda in the days and years ahead. And I thank Christine Arab of the UN Women and Volda Lawrence of Guyana, who both agreed recently at a meeting sponsored by UN Women in Antigua to come to this meeting to present on this issue.
The two-day meeting of the regional subgroup of the Commonwealth Women's Parliamentarians preceded the main conference. Female parliamentarians discussed a range of topics, including the role of political parties in female representation, making it happen. In this session, parliamentarians agreed that women must strive to increase participation within political parties, continue creating bridges, change cultural thinking, and encourage other women to become involved in the political process. The plenary sessions also explored women's political participation and economic empowerment and activated agenda. They examined ways and discussed strategies to gain financial and economic support to participate in the political process. Additionally, the parliamentarians discussed gender ideology, structural and political factors as predictors of women's political representation in the parliamentary process, and highlighted ways in which women can continue to contribute to community development, socially and economically. The BVI has always boasted of its gold medal award-winning chefs and exquisite cuisine. Day 2 of the conference featured a taste of the BVI, where delegates explored Virgin Islands culture through an unforgettable culinary journey.
Let's get this party started right now. Let's get this party rolling right now. Let's get this party started right now. Let's get this party rolling right now. I say, ladies, are you ready? Let me see you dance up on the floor. I say, ladies, are you ready? Let me see you dance just on the floor.
Representatives from 13 countries attended the 40th Conference of the Caribbean, the Americas, and the Atlantic region of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, hosted in the BVI from July 25th to August 1st. It was held under the theme Promoting Democracy and Good Governance, a Unified Approach. Plenary sessions of the conference began on Monday with delegates discussing topics such as losing confidence in the motion of no confidence, promoting democracy and realizing good governance, and giving the public a wider say in the policy-making process. Acting Secretary General and Director of Finance and Administration of the CPA Secretariat, Mr. Joe Omorodian, said that this year's conference theme is relevant and timely for the Caribbean island states.
This year's conference theme is indeed relevant and timely for the Caribbean island states. I believe promoting democracy is essential to each of the states here today and the wider Commonwealth, as it is pivotal to the advancement of sustainable social and economic development. Good democracies have the ability to empower citizens to contribute to the formulation of effective policies, express grievances, seek justice, and hold leaders to account. Similarly, strong democratic institutions empower people to influence their governments to prioritize national development matters that are equitable and sustainable. While good governance is essential to achieve development, true participatory democracy ensures that government is equitable and sustainable. Therefore, the true measure of good governance is the ability of a government to protect people's human rights and deliver their needs in a sustainable and equitable manner. Good governance is derived through transparency, accountability, participation, and responsiveness to the needs of the powerful, poor, marginalized, and underrepresented groups. Undoubtedly, delegates here, we have much to share in terms of experiences and the varied unique approaches to promoting democracy and good governance in their respective jurisdictions across the Caribbean region.
Premier Minister of Finance Dr. The Honorable D. Orlando Smith, OBE, is encouraging Commonwealth parliamentarians to continue to unite to achieve regional success on a range of common issues affecting representative countries.
As a collective body, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association affords us the opportunity to come together, to engage in different discussions, because it is important that we grapple with and brainstorm on unified approaches to building resilient democratic economies, whether politically, socially, or economically. In frank ways, we continue to address the elephant in the room by raising common or unique or even thorny issues. And instead of reinventing the wheel, we build on each other's models and tweak it so that it works for us in our spaces. And this is what unity represents. This regional conference of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association highlights unique unity among its participants. Indeed, that unity is built on a common people with common culture and shared values and history. And for many of us, I had a common basis and structure for a new modern democracy. In fact, it was just shy of 60 years ago that some of us had our political coming of age with the defederation of the colony of the Leeward Islands. We each grew and matured and advanced significantly over the last several decades. And all of this was only possible as a result of holding steadfast to the principles of democracy and good governance. That spirit of unity is evident with us gathering to promote knowledge about how the legislative, economic, social, and cultural aspects of parliamentary democracy can improve the lives of those who elected us to lead.
The Premier reminded the representatives gathered that as Commonwealth countries, the collective strength has always been shared values, principles, and working through the collective voice of Caribbean institutions such as the OECS, CARICOM, the University of West Indies, and even the CPA. As a part of the CPA conference, 25 young people from across the region participated in the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association's annual Regional Youth Parliament held at the H. Laverty Stout Community College in Tortola. The Eileen L. Parsons Auditorium was transformed into the House of Assembly on Thursday, July 30th to accommodate the 11th Regional Youth Parliament. Young people representing 14 countries debated the motion.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the following motion, whereas the participation of young people in any representative democracy is essential for the continued growth and strengthening of that democracy, and whereas the youth are an integral part of the future leadership of a country and must therefore be engaged from an early age to ensure succession planning and continued development in that country. Now therefore be it resolved that the House of Assembly of the Virgin Islands agrees to engage future generations in representative democracy.
The floor is now open for debate.
At the end of the Regional Youth Parliament, presentations were made to Mr. Williams of Nevis for Best Orator on the government side.
Mr. Speaker, I have risen to make a contribution to the debate on the resolution which states the participation of young people in any representative democracy is essential for the continued growth and strengthening of that democracy. Mr. Speaker, Benjamin Franklin contended, and I quote, "Democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for lunch." And I wish to repeat it, Mr. Speaker. Benjamin Franklin contended, democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for lunch. Mr. Speaker, for many decades, the Caribbean civilization has been known for its strength in democracy. But just as the old proverb, nobody wants to fix the well until somebody's child falls in, we have seen the pre-colonial struggles of Grantley Adams of Barbados, Eric Williams of Trinidad and Tobago, and the like go for nothing. The appropriateness of these resolutions, therefore, can be set against a backdrop of a tragic anecdote in which an old man saw a crack develop in the wall of his house and he failed to fix the crack. And one morning he woke up and the wall had collapsed on him right where the crack had developed, and the old man is now paralyzed.
Ms. Bovell of Barbados for Best Orator on the Opposition side.
And I stand to also say that placing a band-aid on a gaping hole will solve no problems. A tree, a young tree, a straight young tree, no matter how good it is, will not flourish in infertile soil. I stand to give information that is not confined by the side that I sit on, but information that can be used to analyze and create a metamorphosis within a system that has run its course. And it has done a good job so far, but it has been shown that its time is up and it's time that we make vital changes in order to preserve the democracies of our states. Mr. Speaker, young people are asking questions. They are asking questions about the legitimacy and the efficiency of our democratic system. They are asking for transparency, accountability, and integrity to be the pillars on which any democracy, on which any government stands. I stand to say that countries which fail to involve their young people, countries which fail to engage their young people, countries which fail to empower their young people are really and truly democratic fallacies.
Ms. Trim of Barbados for Exceptional Youth Parliamentarian.
Forget the little people must one day govern over themselves. Mr. Speaker, as the prayer of this carefully crafted yet dangerously ambiguous resolution tossed in my mind, I wondered if the honorable members wish to stand as a beacon to the rest of the Caribbean, or simply appear as though they were. I wondered if they had finally come to observe the state of the political landscapes across the region and really genuinely wanted to inspire a difference. There are a great many battles fought in this world. Some hidden from your eyes, locked in the shadows, and others so prominently displayed that you become immunized and desensitized to the levels of violence before you, to the point where you are not even aware of what is happening until it is too late. Mr. Speaker, I stand here today burning with a warning. Every single one of our democracies here in this region are under threat. They are fighting for their very existence against an enemy that doesn't even understand itself, an enemy that has left the position of once being the pillars of support and the pillars of protection. The now disgruntled and frustrated Caribbean people, whom in the face of economic hardship and instances of bad leadership, have decided they want to give up. Mr. Speaker, to make it worse, this is happening at the precipice of a paradigm shift that the Caribbean cannot afford not to capitalize on.
And to Miss Pemberton of Nevis for youngest parliamentarian at 15 years old.
I rise to make my contribution to this motion by way of resolution that now seeks to legislate for greater youth involvement in representative democracies. Being a young person myself, it is difficult for me to oppose this resolution. But Mr. Speaker, as I lay my case before this Honorable House, you will understand that I am justified in taking this position. Mr. Speaker, Chapter 2, subsection 12.1 and 12.2 of the Constitution of the British Virgin Islands states, and I quote, "Everyone is equal before the law and has the right to equal protection and benefit of the law, subject to such limitations as are prescribed by law. Equality includes full and equal enjoyment of all rights and freedoms." End of quote.
Host country, the British Virgin Islands, had 10 young people participating in this year's event. The aims and objectives of the association are to promote knowledge of the respective constitutions, as well as the legislative, economic, social, and cultural aspects of parliamentary democracy with particular reference to the Commonwealth countries in the region. Member states of the CPA include Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Belize, Bermuda, British Virgin Islands, Cayman Islands, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, Montserrat, Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, St. Kitts, Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos Islands.